going to crack on in the interest of being nice and productive today. So first of all, just a little bit about who we are, so that you know who's going to be talking to you and hosting you for the next half an hour. My name's Stephen Jones, and as it says on the screen here, I work for Unleashed Software over in Bristol, and I look after our UK and Europe, Middle East and Africa side of the business. My role within the company is really to find companies that can benefit from using our solution, to consult with them on what their objectives and goals are, and to take them through a process from kind of discovery to success. And we've been working as a business now for about 4 years in the UK, with UK businesses, specifically manufacturers, wholesalers, distributors, product businesses that are looking to be more efficient in the cloud. And I'm really pleased to introduce you to Stuart McLaren, the head of sales and marketing over at Prospect CRM. We've been working with Stuart and his team now for about 18 months. And we feel like there's a lot of alignment between our two companies, given that their focus is also on growing product businesses that are really looking to focus on efficiency. And of course, the topic for today's webinar is all about scaling sales efficiency. So this is something that is quite close to Stuart and my heart, both coming from kind of commercial backgrounds. So we've got about half an hour this afternoon just to take you through some new workflows and some features and some benefits that are offered from our products when they are combined together, that hopefully you will be able to implement within your business or within your client's business to help them either do more with the same amount of sales resource, or even in some cases actually manage to use that resource more effectively once you reduce some of the friction and human touch points in your sales workflows. So I think at this point I'm going to introduce you to Stuart, and Stuart can hopefully unmute himself, introduce him, and Stuart's then going to take you into a demo environment that we've got set up with Prospect CRM, and we'll be able to kick off this interesting portion of this afternoon's session. Over to you, Stuart.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, everybody. Hopefully my voice is coming through loud and clear. I'm going to take over the screen sharing and hopefully be on the same slide. So it's as seamless as ever. Yeah, okay, thanks, Steve. So as Steve said, we've not got long, so we're going to jump straight into stuff. And I wanted to just quickly perhaps reiterate hopefully why you guys are here. I think most of you probably are on some kind of or other a legacy accounting solution. Certainly that's where most of the invites were going to. And I guess what we're trying to show you, Steve and I, today is how the future could be for you in migrating to the cloud. And one of the big barriers that quite often comes up is this problem of migrating to the cloud and losing all the history from your legacy system. And certainly for many of the legacy accounting systems, we have a really good migration plan that will allow you to keep all of your full history from your Sage or Pegasus or whatever, and migrate to cloud applications such as we're talking about today, being able to build on that history so you don't actually lose anything. Although you'll start with opening balances in your account system, we can bring the full history into the CRM, and I'll show you a bit of how that works as we get into the system. So the solutions that we're talking about, this was a comparison that actually went up on LinkedIn from someone else, and I've kind of added in here the fact that if you add Unleashed and Prospect CRM to the Xero stack of solutions, that you're really getting a fully fledged, integrated, best of breed set of solutions that can handle all of the things that you might want to in a modern wholesale manufacturing type business. And so that's really what we're going to look at today, is that kind of the combination of the three best of breed solutions and how that can help you grow your business without having to necessarily grow your workforce. So if I can just quickly jump into some of these. Let me just take this out of the way quickly. I just want to grab sorry, let me just quickly grab this. And let me, sorry, I think I've stopped sharing by mistake. Let me just reshare that quickly. Okay, so hopefully you can all see I've jumped into the Prospect CRM system, and I'm just going to give you a quick fly around, and then we're going to do a bit of activity to show you the kind of thing that we're talking about. I've landed on a dashboard here that shows me various things on tiles and the kind of thing you might expect in any CRM system, my pipeline report, you know, the best, likely and worst kind of thing, and any recent activity, my to-do list for today, all those kind of things. But we also bring in, and this is where I can very quickly show you what you'd get from your existing legacy accounting system. An example here of all my customers that have had increasing revenue year on year, looking back a year from today and a year previous to that. And so we're obviously connected at the moment to an Unleashed system for our company that's called That's My Jam, and we sell jam and jam making equipment and components and all the rest of it. And so here I can see that we've got several customers that are spending a fair bit more than they used to. I mean, if I, for example, go into Mary Berry Limited, you can see that my transaction list here gives a full line item transactions of everything that's gone through. And so we are able to connect this up to your legacy accounting system, should you look to migrate to the cloud, and bring in all of this information from that system. And then when you replace with Unleashed and Zero, you'll build on this information so you don't actually lose anything. And I've got quite a bit of analysis that I can do on that. You know, which products do they buy the most often, how much they spend on how many orders, and what is their monthly spend with me, and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to allay any fears that migrating from a previous system is going to end up with, you know, a completely blank sheet and no history. That really doesn't need to be the case these days. So the scenario that I'm going to take to show you this, I'll just actually expand on these pipeline reports. I just wanted to quickly show you that we've also got, exactly as you'd expect in a CRM, more detailed pipeline reports that you can drill down to, and activity reports for sales guys and so on. So I tend to sort of gloss over a lot of the standard CRM stuff, but we have a full marketing campaign management, linked to email marketing systems and so on. You can set up telesales lists for sales guys. And the thing I want to focus on now is just to show you that the beauty of having these best of breed systems is that, yes, in the CRM, we bring in all the customers and I can do some analysis and try and sell more to existing customers. But I'd probably also have in the CRM an extensive marketing list of people that we're attempting to sell to. And the point here is there's no need for them to exist in my back office systems yet because we haven't sold to them. So I want to keep my back office systems clean, and Steve's going to do a bit more on exactly the kind of thing that a sales manager might want to do on records once they do appear in the back office system, in other words, once we've sold to people. But to start with, you only need your marketing, your potential customer list in the CRM system. And so I'm going to take a scenario where we've come across a new potential business contact. I've just got his email address here. So this is actually the managing director of a company called Tiptree that you may well know. And so our system is linked to social media feeds, and by putting his email address in, it picks up the name of his company, the fact that he's the managing director. I can choose them to be a prospective customer. If it hasn't picked up the phone number, I can put their phone number in. It's got the website, and we know that he is a Mr. and in fact, he is the main decision maker for the business. So all of that gets filled in actually automatically from our feeds from social media. And so if I go to create this record, it's going to create the whole business record and the record for Darren himself. And so pretty quickly, I've got a fully functioning record with their address and everything on it. And so now what I want to do is log the fact that Tiptree are looking in this demonstration to refit one of their jam factories. And so we're going to log a new opportunity, a lead. And I can do that by going to plus. I could just do a quote or an order if I wanted to at this point. But we're going to log a new lead for new factory. I'm going to put this down to myself. It's jam making equipment is the type of sale, and it's a new business opportunity, and so it goes to unqualified. And I'm currently estimating this to be somewhere 10 to 25,000 pounds worth of business. So very quickly, I've got an opportunity in the system that's going to feed into my pipeline. I'll fill in some extra detail on this now by saying that I'm hoping that we're going to get it this month, and I think it's about 50% likely in the conversations that I've had, and I can set my next to do. But what I'm actually going to do is send a quote to Tiptree for a new factory, and I could use a template quote. So I've got a basic jam making kit that's already got some things on it, but we're actually going to go for a new quotation here because they want some of our bigger equipment. In fact, they want our automatic jam and jelly making piece of equipment. And what I've got here is our upsell. So although I've selected an automated jam and jelly maker, and actually they would like 50 of those, I've got it linked to say if they buy that machine, they should buy 100 jars for each machine that will allow one full production run for one machine. So I'm going to suggest that as an upsell, 5,000 jam jars, and we'll continue. And you can link products in that way so that obviously you're trying to increase the average order value by linking products. I'll just mention that you could also drag and drop in the customer's purchase order or CSV here. So we've done a quote, and I can send that to Darren as a quotation if I want to into an email, or I could do a full document and attach it. And so we've got all the CRM expertise that you expect. The thing that I want to do though is take the order. Darren wants to go ahead. We're actually going to say that this price is good till the end of the month, and he's given me a purchase order number, so we'll put that in. Now what we don't have is an account for them in Unleashed yet, so we can't process this order, but I have the opportunity here to create a new sales ledger. And so let's just do this based on, we'll do it on Mary Berry's as an example, but you can have template one set up. So it'll take some defaults there. I'm going to call this tip Tiara 001. It's picked up all the information that we put in, and I'm going to say that they're a 20% VAT on income customer. And so if I create, that sets up a new account. I'm going to set it as the default for this customer. And so the account has been created, and that'll go through to Unleashed, which means I can now confirm this quotation as an order. And so if I hit confirm, that goes into our waiting status, and then it writes it into Unleashed, and we'll get the order confirmation appear up the top of the screen in just a second to tell us that that order has now arrived safely in Unleashed. And there it is. And so that's really as far as I wanted to go. I'll come back at the end and talk a little bit about after sales, but you can see the kind of processing and how seamless it is because of the integration between the systems. What I'll do now is I'll hand back to Steve to pick up that order 1033 in our system, and have a look at some of the extra information that he might put into Unleashed. So I'll hand back over to you, Steve.
Thanks very much, Stuart. Thank you. So I'm just going to quickly switch back to my screen share, and I'll just show you the next stage in that workflow. As you can see there, for those of you that already know Unleashed, you'll know that pipeline management, leads management, opportunity management, that's not our thing. We often have businesses that will talk to us about what's going on in the piece of the workflow that happens before we actually get an order committed and before we then actually want to put that information into Unleashed and process it to invoice and shipment. So we're now recommending Prospect CRM as the tool to fill that gap. So for any Unleashed users that are growing their sales team or that are maybe reaching the upper limitations of selling in Unleashed, I'd really implore you to download a trial and take advantage of some of those upsell tools and pipeline management tools that Stuart just showed. And so if we just carry this forward, if we go and find, let's just find Tiptree as a customer that Stuart's just set up, what's important is that we've obviously got that quote which Stuart has just processed. We've got that sent through to Unleashed. The nice thing about the integration between the sales team using Prospect CRM and my team, which is the management and operations team, which lives within the Unleashed tool, is that actually there's what we call hot links embedded within the product that allow me, let's pretend I'm the sales manager now, looking to pick this information up, confirm that it's been dropped into the operation team work in progress, and perhaps carry on through some following steps. I can not only see this information here in Prospect CRM, but I can click open within Unleashed and the system will in one click take me through to the transaction and allow me to complete the workflow from there. So imagine that we've got lots of orders and sales. This means I can be nice and efficient. I don't have to go searching around. I can just get taken straight to the transaction. And from here, when we talk about sales efficiency at Unleashed, getting the sale into the system is the easy bit, I guess, for us because we're not doing the work. Once the sale is here, there's then lots of smart things that we can do to make our team more efficient with this order, but also more efficient for customer orders from this customer in the future. So I'm going to talk about that first. How do we ensure that we save ourselves time as we scale sales with this customer? And then I'm going to come back to this order and talk about how we efficiently process the order and hand off to our accounts team. So I guess the first point is that Tiptree is just maybe Stuart's met them at an event, he's put in a lead, he's won the business, he's created a new order, that's great. For me as a sales manager working with Stuart, what I want to know is, can we set up a profile for Tiptree now based on the information we've gathered and maybe enable Tiptree to actually order more products from us efficiently, or put some information about Tiptree into the pocket of my salespeople so that when they're out and about in the field, they've got information about this account, what their last purchase was, maybe what they can actually sell to them the next time they're in the area working with them, and I think they're over in Essex. So in Unleashed, to do this, what we need to do once we have a new customer account created, we actually need to go and take a look at their customer profile, because any kind of efficient workflow in Unleashed starts with the customer profile, and we need to just get a little bit smarter here about how we manage the Tiptree account. So I guess the first point that I would make is that each customer that is created into Unleashed is going to be created with a fairly blank slate, as we've got here. And this then enables me as the sales manager to be going through my list of customers and actually assigning things like payment terms, like a pricing list, like a credit limit, for example, remembering that this is a new customer that we've only just created, so maybe I want to be a little bit tight on the terms and tight on the credit limit. I can go through and set up these preferences in Unleashed. And the really cool thing about this partnership we have with Prospect CRM is once I've saved these preferences here, a big win is that they're actually then going to be pushed back up to Prospect CRM, so that the next time Stuart or another team member goes to sell to Tiptree, they've now got my feedback as the manager on what the terms, what the pricing, what the credit limit should be. And we can really go into the weeds with this stuff. We can even get down to not just, oh, they're on this price list, but within Unleashed, we can do what we call customer specific pricing, which actually involves us choosing a specific product and then going through and saying whenever they buy this specific product, they get a, let's say, a 10% discount if they order a certain minimum quantity, and that can be kind of valid to and from a date. So that level of kind of pricing configuration is available here. And remember, we can pass that back up to the CRM to ensure that the sales persons within the CRM are always just interested in who is the prospect, what can we sell them, actually unleash full feedback, stock availability, pricing rules, credit limits and the like. And I, as the sales manager, can control that here from my customer profile page. And what makes that really interesting for us within Unleashed, not only do we have the partnership with the CRM prospect to enable a sales team to create orders, we've actually got some tools ourselves that are built within Unleashed to enable businesses with a sales team to sell more efficiently and hopefully to get rid of the spreadsheets and the double keying and all of those problems that kind of plague us as we're trying to scale a team. So providing I set up a profile in this way as I'm doing now, and then providing I go and I assign my customers either to like a relevant salesperson, maybe to a relevant channel, all of these preferences then enable me to say, hey, why don't I actually invite this customer in to order from me online? Why don't I give them their own ordering portal? Perhaps I want to try and automate some of their sales process so that we're not always so reliant on Stuart. And this might mean that I give Tiptree or any of my other customers their own portal to order in from me. Within Unleashed, we can do that. I can show you what that looks like just by sharing my screen here. And you should be able to see in a moment my screen on my mobile phone. This is just on my iPhone. You can see that this is the That's My Jam store. So this is what, let's say, Tiptree would see if I gave them permission to order from me online. Maybe once I get them past a certain number of orders and I realize that I'm getting repeat business from them, I start giving them access to their own portal where they see their own pricing, images of products. They can obviously see quantity-based discounts because we're talking about a trade customer here. And what this enables me to do is to put the power in the hands of Tiptree and their buyer and say, hey, I'm actually going to give you maybe a discounted rate if you purchase through the ordering portal that I've prescribed to you. And by doing that, I'm removing the friction points when they're purchasing. I'm removing the need for Stuart to keep prompting them to purchase. I'm actually incentivizing them to use an automated digital ordering portal. And I'm actually going to give them some benefits for doing so. I'm going to say not only is the pricing different, but actually you can set up things like recurring orders here within this online ordering portal so that you don't need to remember each week to order a certain amount of jam. You can check relevant orders that you've already made. You can just come in and hit reorder within the app to save yourself time ordering. And of course, because it's all just on your mobile phone, you can do this at a time of your choosing, maybe at the end of your shift or late in the evening when you remember you want to order from us. You don't actually need to wait for Stuart to be back in the office to place a purchase. Do it online, automate it, and actually there's a win in it for you, but there's actually a win in it for us. That's my jam, because as a sales manager, I'm really interested in the productivity of my sales team. So having a B2B ordering option is really, really crucial. And another option that I just want to draw to your attention as well is our mobile application, which again is all about sales, all about saving the paper, all about trying to make it easier for a salesperson to put in an order when they're on the move, check what their customers are ordering, check the status of those orders, and take them through a workflow so that we're trying to give salespeople as much tooling as possible at the front end so that they can create orders and manage them themselves, give instant feedback to their customers about what the status is of those orders, but actually then once orders are coming in, whether it's from Prospect CRM, our business-to-business ordering portal, or the mobile app, we can actually manage those orders in Unleashed and take them through the rest of the workflow in a digital way. So if I just come back out of this and jump back to my Unleashed account, you can imagine that we've got orders coming in from those sources and they'll all be dropping into our view sales orders screen here that I'm sure some of you are familiar with. This is where we're doing our main management of all new orders. We can see the source, some coming from B2B, some coming from the mobile app, some coming from Prospect CRM, as we've got here with our Tiptree order. And of course, once we've actually got that order, the next step in our workflow that we can organize is always going to be to organize for a shipment or a delivery for this order, and then also to organize for an invoice and to pass that invoice off to the accounting system. So just to begin with the shipment side of things, in this case, we've got a serial tracked product. So we would need to assign serial numbers to our automatic jam and jelly maker. We've also got the glass jam jars as well. The really neat thing here is that we can actually choose when we create a shipment whether we want to ship all of the items on the order or whether we just want to ship some of the items. In this case, I'm just going to ship my glass jam jars just to make it easier for this example. So I'm just going to ship the second line item, which means I'm going to split ship and send the first one later on. And when I do this, I might want to organize this to go with a specific courier. I can then integrate away with like a DPD or a DHL so that I can automate the creation of shipping labels and try and save time logging into another portal to create that document. But ultimately, I want to organize to dispatch some of the items on the order. Or in this case, I think I've cheated my credit limit that I'd actually set up. So before I do this, let me just save, go back to view order. As an admin, I should be able to ignore this credit limit. So keep in mind, if you're going to do a demonstration, that you actually stay within your own rules. There we go. Come back here. So we can imagine that this is now me handing over to a logistics manager. I actually want to organize for the creation of the labels, the picking, the packing, the dispatching of this particular order. I can do that within Unleashed, and this is going to ship partial amount of the order. But then I'm also going to want to create an invoice for the partial value of the order as well, to ensure that I'm shipping and invoicing at the same time. And we can do this, again, by creating a partial invoice. We don't always have to invoice the whole value. In this case, I'm going to be a bit cheeky and I'm just going to invoice the whole value for the sake of the demo. And when I do that, again, the really important thing is I can use the payment terms and the credit limit information within Unleashed. When I'm actually selecting these options, again, we're going to be using hot links to pass that down the workflow chain into, in my case, my accounting software that I've chosen to use, which is the accounting product Xero. So you can imagine we've got this workflow that starts in Prospect CRM with the sales team, hands off to the operational team within Unleashed. And when we've done our job and we've selected our serial numbers and when we've organized our shipments, we're going to hand off to a piece of accounting software so that my finance team member can approve this invoice and reconcile it against a payment in the next bank run. So it's really, really important to us in Unleashed and Xero that we're not having our systems being clogged up with all the leads and the opportunities that Stuart's managing in Prospect CRM. It's really important to us that we go ahead and we set up the correct customer profile in our system so that when we are processing orders in the future, the relevant credit limits and pricing is being taken into account and that we're passing that information back to Prospect CRM. And actually, when we're finishing off a workflow in Xero, that's not necessarily the end of the sales process, because you have situations with some products like a automatic jam and jelly maker, a high value item, where we might want to provide some aftercare. And so actually this digital workflow doesn't finish at this point. Prospect CRM actually has the ability to log tickets and provide some support capacity for the sales process as well, which again is really outside of the scope of Unleashed, where we would usually expect one of our users to manage that in an Excel sheet outside of Unleashed, which is pretty inefficient. Stuart can actually show you a way that you can log a ticket against a particular customer or against a particular record to finish off the aftercare side of a sales workflow. So I'll just pass you back over to Stuart so that he can show you that. But hopefully there you can just see the benefits of having a CRM linked up to Unleashed, using the Unleashed sales tooling to be more efficient and keep everything paperless, and then hand off to that piece of accounting software at the end. Over to you, Stuart.
Thanks, Steve. Let me just grab the screen. So if I just come back to the CRM again. So yeah, picking up the sort of the after sales. Actually, I should just quickly mention while I'm still on this order, given that we do brand ourselves as Stockware CRM, one of the things I might have been worried about when taking this order was whether we had stock availability, and we do have, I think as Steve mentioned, a look into the stock availability that we have in the Unleashed system by warehouse as well. But let's assume that Darren received this order, and perhaps there was a damage on delivery, some of the jars got broken or whatever. Then what we have is the ability to log. I'm not going to go through the whole process because I know we're almost out of time, but to log a service ticket in the system of the type of a delivery issue that might end up in a return. And this has a full workflow process on it that allows us to go through the various stages in terms of taking a return in, and even processing an order perhaps at zero value to ship out a replacement. So you can do orders against service tickets as well. Obviously, with only half an hour, we're somewhat restricted. So, I mean, I guess the final thing was really to see, I think, if there are any questions from anybody, and I'll hand back to Steve to manage that, and to encourage you guys to take a free trial. We can integrate the free trials for you so that you can see exactly what you've just seen working for you. But thank you for your attention, and if there are any questions, I'll hand back to Steve, who will be able to see whether he or I should answer the questions.
Thank you, Stuart. Yeah, so I must admit I missed a point at the beginning of this session, which was just to let everybody know about the Q&A tool that's built within Zoom. So I'll let you know about it now, and Stuart and I have got another kind of 5-10 minutes to answer any questions that you might have, either about the specific tools that we've tried to demonstrate within the last 25 minutes, or just about scaling a sales team in general, as both of us are sales leaders within our respective businesses. Let's treat this last 5 minutes as a bit of an Ask Me Anything. So please just pop any questions that you might have in the Q&A tool within Zoom. I can promise you that if you don't put any questions in there, I will just start making some up and answering my own questions. And we'll make it a useful 5 minutes. Go. I'm sure, Vicky, you'll have a question, so you can maybe kick us off. While I'm waiting, actually, Stuart, let me ask you a question just about the businesses that,
Sure.
that you encounter that are currently using on-premise solutions. I encounter a number of businesses that are using the likes of Pegasus Opera and Exchequer, for example, and have been doing so for some time, and they'll have that installed on-premise on some local servers. Are you still seeing resistance in moving to the cloud? Are you still seeing any concern from businesses about actually making that infrastructure change? Or do you think that conversation is kind of dead and buried now?
I think it's mostly dead and buried. I think that the final fear that's there, I think most people have accepted that it's way better to have solutions on the cloud rather than trying to manage a whole infrastructure and server and your own backups and taking them home and all that nonsense that used to go on. I think everyone's accepted that the principle of using cloud solutions is just so much more efficient for a business that they shouldn't try and be an IT, an IT business anymore. They should do what they're doing. The final resistance, as I was talking about at the beginning, where quite often they've had those on-premise solutions for years, and so they've got absolutely tons of really valuable intelligence in them, and the big fear is losing all that data. And so the process that we have is a tool, our automation manager, that we can deploy on the current server, connect to the legacy system, and pull all of that valuable intelligence out of the legacy system into the CRM against the customer records.
That's pretty cool. That's a lot more, a lot smarter than we are. So good on you guys for doing that. I think that actually links quite nicely into the question that we've just had, which is actually around, how do you help us migrate from say, like a Sage 50, professional to Unleashed plus Prospect CRM, and what happens to the data, in that process. So it sounds like with Prospect CRM, there is a process that you've already built internally to extract existing sales history from the legacy product and actually bring that into Prospect CRM, which is a huge win for us at Unleashed, because that's what we would prefer to happen. We prefer that sales data is recorded and logged into a CRM and actually kept out of Unleashed, so that we don't have to get caught up in that idea of having negative inventory displaying within an accounting period. Again, we can remove that headache, and prospect can shoulder it, which makes for a much easier transition from a legacy system if we've got prospect involved as well.
It does. And I mean, the other transition headache that people have is that if they're going to move to Unleashed, quite often they want to take advantage of some of the, features that they've got in Unleashed that they wouldn't have had in a Sage or a Pegasus or whatever. And so they might well want to build a completely different catalog of their products. They might want to do all their stock codes. They might want to restart with a better format for their account codes. And so providing we have a from and a to, what stock code it used to be in Sage or Pegasus or Exchequer and what it's going to be in Exchequer, we can actually update all that information so that even though you're moving and taking advantage of all the extra features that they can get in Unleashed, and formulating the new stock codes and new categories and new account codes and so on, we can then match that with their historic data, so they actually still are able to build on the historic data with all the new coding that they've done for the features that they can now utilize in Unleashed.
And the prospect team, let's say we get somebody, as we hope we will do, somebody ripping our arm off at the end of this webinar and saying, I'm really interested in switching from Exchequer to prospect CRM Unleashed, and perhaps Xero for their accounting. What do you say to those businesses that maybe are a little bit nervous about switching from one system that rules everything to, say, 3 systems, like we've demonstrated today?
I mean, I think the best of breed approach, is just so clear these days, and the whole cloud ecosystem is about compatible apps that are properly integrated, and the cloud allows that. I mean, we've just shown how tightly integrated the systems can be. You put the best tool in the right hands within your business to, exactly as this webinar is all about, minimize your costs, maximize your growth in profit and order value. And I think, when you see the kind of thing that we've just been through, it just kind of makes the case so clear of taking a best of breed, properly integrated cloud app approach.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I had a really interesting conversation with a business owner yesterday morning. They were looking at an all-in-one solution, and they were looking at Xero, Unleashed, and Prospect CRM. And they were very surprised to learn that actually using the 3 applications integrated together was actually going to provide a better solution, but at a significantly lower cost than taking the all-in-one. They were assuming that it was going to be 3 times the price, and were kind of pleasantly surprised when I had told them what the quote would look like. In fact, there was a bit of a jaw drop moment. So I think that's another thing that people need to get used to as well, that just because it's 3 individual best-in-breed tools versus, say, one generic jack of all trades doesn't necessarily mean that the cost is going to be different. And lastly, I think we'll finish up on this question, because I know that Prospect CRM, when we have discussed converting businesses from Pegasus and Sage and Exchequer in the past, you provide an onboarding service as a part of the offering. So it's not just, hey, here's a CRM tool, you can purchase it, but actually, could you just explain to those listening what that onboarding service looks like, what that care package looks like to actually help get those people from A to success?
Yeah, I think that's a great point, actually, in terms of that migration. With the complexities that we've just been through in terms of, connecting up to a legacy system, etc., there is some help to be had there that most people, are going to want. And so although onboarding packages aren't mandatory, we offer a sort of a scaled set of onboarding packages, from a fairly simple training and using our academy with some assistance to configure the system, right up to a fuller where we would, do as I've described, connect up to the legacy system, bring everything out, renumber all the part codes and customer codes and so on, and then move forward with an Unleashed system. So that would involve some on-site configuration from us in the UK or remotely for the rest of the world, and on-site training again in the UK, or remote sessions in the correct time zone for the rest of the world. So
Gotcha.
yeah, a kind of, yeah, from no touch to a light touch to a full service.
Got you. And I just to reiterate that point, because this is always the kind of closing statement that I make with any of these lunchtime webinars that we run, is that when you're looking at a solution from Unleashed or from Prospect CRM, you're not really buying the product, you're buying the plan. So you should always be registering for a free trial of our service or booking in for what we call a discovery call here at Unleashed, an initial conversation to first of all establish where your business is at, what is the status quo and what you would like to achieve, what the goals are. And it's actually for the consultants at both of our respective businesses to talk you through that process and to try and establish, first of all, whether or not you're even a fit for the solution that we offer. Just because you have inventory doesn't necessarily mean that we're the right tools for the job. So I'd really encourage businesses, reach out, register, show some interest, and what you'll be able to have is a no or low commitment conversation with a consultant that is interested in, first of all, working out whether you're a fit or not. I can tell you from the Unleashed side, we actually drop about 50% of all inquiries at that stage. We're pretty cutthroat with who we let into the net and who we kind of take through our process, because it's simply not worth your or our time trying to put a square peg in a round hole. So do reach out, do book in for that discovery call, which I would say is the next stage, and then be confident in the fact that we can set up a trial of both products integrated. We can then take that trial and convert it into an integrated subscription. And we can then provide those onboarding services to ensure that even if you don't have IT professionals on staff, you can outsource some of that problem to us so that we can actually ensure you get set up right first time, that we get the core users trained up. We can do that both over the phone, via video call, or on site, depending on where you're based. So just ask us about what that service looks like if you're thinking this looks great, but I can't see how we're actually going to get there. Give us a call and ask us that question, because it's different every time for each business, and we're more than happy to make suggestions and recommendations, or even tell you, don't make the jump, you're not ready.
It's worth just reiterating perhaps that, as you said at the very beginning, this isn't a new thing we're doing with Prospect, CRM and Unleashed. We've been working together now for over 18 months. We share loads and loads of customers, and we've taken lots of customers through this journey of migrating from legacy to the combined solutions of Prospect, CRM, Unleashed and Zero. So we have good experience and plenty of customers that have made that switch already.
Agreed. So I think what we'll do, because we're fast approaching 1:45 and everybody's got lunch to go and get and enjoy themselves. So I think what I'll say is thank you very much for giving us your attention this lunchtime. Hopefully that gave you a very quick snapshot of how you can use these tools to be more efficient in the sales process. If you would like to learn more, because there's plenty more detail to go into, go to our respective websites, contact Stuart or myself. We will be sending around a recording of this lunchtime webinar to all those who attended and who couldn't attend. And of course, that is shareable. So if you have peers within your business or outside of your business that you'd like to share that onto, who are interested in scaling sales in a product business, please do that. If I find out that you've specifically shared, I'll make sure that there's a bottle of New Zealand wine in the post for you as a thank you. But yeah, look out for that email later on today. And please do take action and book in for the next available discovery call with our respective companies.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Steve.
Thanks so much, Stuart. Thanks for jumping in on that with us. And yeah, look out for that email later on. Have a great day, everyone. Be productive.
Cheers.
Bye.